getting suspicious. Hasn't KD been out a little bit too long?
KD?
Let me finish. KD, I bring up KD and AD in the same sentence. Haven't they been out? I mean,
Yes,
AD's
they
been
have.
about 20 games. You know, and again, we're leaning back on Max Kellerman before KD went down in the finals because Max kept telling, I don't give a damn what y'all say. You understand what I'm saying? Even though some people would still argue, even after he tore his Achilles, that one had nothing to do with the other, whatever.
If it quacks like a duck, what?
If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it ain't a mongoose. I got all of that. You know me. But what I'm saying is, my antennas are getting raised. I'm about to get nosy is what I'm trying to say. Usually I'm just sitting back, I'm hosting. You know, I get calls, I got contacts. I've been covering the league for a quarter century. I got major contacts. All of that stuff is good. But I don't have time, okay? I don't have time, all right? I get my information, but I lean on the dudes because we got a crew here at ESPN. But I'm getting suspicious. It's been a little bit too long with these injuries. And I'm starting to feel, Max, that you know what? It's worse than we're being led to believe. And so I'm of the mindset, first of all, Lakers ain't winning the West without both AD and LeBron. Ain't happening. So, and I ain't worried about LeBron coming back. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not accusing him of faking the injury by any stretch of the imagination. I would never accuse any player of doing that, especially LeBron. But I don't care if LeBron's out the next month and a half. He deserves it. He's in NBA Finals. The brother shows up, only missed one game this year. I don't give a damn if LeBron takes the next month off. I know that brother going to be ready come playoff time. I have no doubt. AD's an entirely different matter. And without AD, Lakers might go home in the first round. Now, I can't see it. I can't see it because LeBron don't go home in the first round. But I'm getting very, very, very suspicious on the West Coast with AD and on the East Coast with KD. I'm getting very, very suspicious.
Sherlock is going to dust off the pipe and the hat.
Columbo, Madlock, Perry Mason, pick it. I don't give a damn. I'm beyond inquisitive at this point. It's getting to the point. I'm not ready to say that the Lakers have nothing to worry about because I'm not sure there's not something to worry about with AD. And so as a result of that, and I said this from day one, ain't no way in hell he coming back 100%. He's going to play 100%. He's going to be unconcerned about anything. I don't believe it, Max. I don't believe it. So because of that is why I say to you, I'm not sure at all, and I don't think you nor anyone else should be sure about the Los Angeles Lakers because they need both to defend their crown, not just LeBron.
Well, that's right. You can't be sure, and you have every right to be suspicious. KD has been MIA, and so has AD.
Right.
And we've that's why we're asking, are you losing faith? You know, it's been sort of an article of faith. Yeah, but KD will get back. And when KD gets back, the Nets. And when AD gets back, the Lakers. You can look at the odds in Vegas. Those are the two leading odds-on favorites.
Well, a little
the
less
Nets
with
and the
KD
Lakers.
Because KD was the hamstring. You see what I'm saying?
Okay, but still, when you have
AD, it was the calf.
No doubt, KD's coming off an Achilles,
right.
And now you have leg issues,
and
so you get worried. By the way, look into it. Absolutely, that's worth looking into. I'll say this though. I still have faith in the sense that what has been reported so far is that AD will be back. I'll stick to the Lakers right now. AD is supposed to play in April. Does that give him and the Lakers, number one, can the Lakers survive until then and hold on to a playoff seed? I think the answer is yes. Number two, even if it's 15 games, all you got to do is win 5 of those, let's say. Number two, once he gets back and LeBron gets back, do they have enough time to get the chemistry going, to get in real basketball shape before the playoffs? I think the answer is yes. Then I ask myself, if they have LeBron and AD as most of themselves, do I like them to get out of the West? The answer is yes. By the way, you brought up LeBron's injury. You know he's going to be all right. As a Lakers fan, any Lakers fan out there should thank their lucky stars because that injury to me, Stephen A., when I saw it on originally, looked like a season ender to me. The knee to me seemed to move to the side. I was like, uh-oh. The fact that it's turned out to be a high ankle sprain is a blessing compared to what that could have been. But I just saw the way his leg rolled, and I wasn't concerned about it at all because it's LeBron. I really wasn't concerned about it at all. I said, you know something? He needs a break.
He needs a break anyway.
He walked off by himself.
Listen,
that was good.
You can't. The guy is 36 years of age in his 18th season and playing more games than anybody else. I mean, if I'm other guys, I would be embarrassed. Not guys with legitimate bona fide injuries that have them out. But I'm talking about these strains and you're not 100% and that's a reason to take nights off and all of this other stuff. This brother doesn't miss games.
What
and
percentage?
so I look at it from that perspective, and I'm like, I ain't worried about LeBron. He deserves his break. AD is a huge concern
What
for me.
percentage of himself does AD have to come back at for them to get out of the West? Past the Jazz, past the Nuggets, past the Clippers, the Suns?
85%.
At least 85%.
At least 85%.
I think that's about it right. He has to be mostly himself.
At least 85%. If Anthony Davis is not at least 85%, the Lakers are not coming out of the Western Conference. Lakers ain't getting to the conference final.
Don't sleep on the Mavs either. I'm telling people they had a lot of COVID issues early. The West is a beast. It's a beast right now.
Well, listen, you say the Mavs, I say Portland, and I'm going to bring up the Clippers.
Phoenix.
Listen, Phoenix, but they're young. I just think there's a missing piece, but I love the fact they got point guard play, obviously. They got coaching. They got young athletes. They got a star in Devin Booker. I love what I'm seeing from Phoenix. I still think they're an additional piece away, but for me, this is it. If the Clippers can't do it this year, I think we need to have the discussion as to whether or not the whole Kawhi Leonard move was an absolute bust.
Last thing, Jamal Murray is normally about a borderline all-star regular season. He was a superstar in the playoffs.
Who?
Jamal Murray.
Yes, no question.
If that Jamal Murray shows up in these
and
playoffs,
I think he will.
Denver is as live as anybody.
I believe Jamal Murray will step up because I think that's the kind of play he is. But Molly, I want to reiterate because I saw your reaction to what I said.
We need to revisit that Kawhi point that you just said.
That's right.
Because that's wild.
I'm going to say it again. If the Los Angeles Clippers don't even make it to the conference finals this year, the Kawhi Leonard move was.
I love that Brooklyn becomes the villains of the NBA. We hate villains. KD, when he was at Golden State was a team that you loved, and then KD went there, it's like, oh, we don't like Golden State. Look, they're stacking the deck. And now the same thing's happening in Brooklyn. And it is an interesting point. If KD wins a championship this year, the two teams he would have won a championship with, maybe one, the greatest team ever assembled. Now, if you want to debate that, fine. The Bulls and Michael Jordan, that team, but with him, Steph, and Clay, right? And now a team with him, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving, Blake Griffin, and LaMarcus Aldridge. Those would be the two teams that KD would have won a championship with. You tell me how you feel about that.
So is Kevin Durant the Thanos in all of this? Just collecting
he's becoming. That's what
it's like. You know what? I'm just going to get everything I need so I can dominate the league.
Now his teams are doing it. Now. I mean, that's what they had at Golden State, and that's what Sean Marks is doing now with the Brooklyn Nets.
I cannot blame the teams. This is a player mentality in the league because it is about chasing championships right now. The question is what other sport do we have a rule like this? Where a team buys out a player. I am paying you to not play for us.
To leave.
And then another team's like, I'll pay you to come play for us. So you're collecting a check from two teams, and you have a chance to win a championship. Like Andre Drummond's salary is not a small salary. And Cleveland's paying him to go away. And they're also paying him, essentially paying him to play for the Lakers.
Hear that. Cleveland.
Yes.
Cleveland is paying Andre Drummond to go away. Andre's like, man, did I wake up in a dream? Is this a dream, CC?
Like, I can get out of a team that is essentially a lottery team at this point with no chance at all to make the playoffs. I can get out of this misery. And by the way, leave Cleveland. No offense, Tony. Don't be mad at me. And go to L.A. Go to L.A. in the spring, by the way. And then also have a chance to play for a championship. I mean, that's the league. That's been going on for years, and it's only the last, what would you say? Was it 10 years?
10 years or so, yeah.
10 years is like all of a sudden it's become a bigger thing where it's sort of like, in baseball there's the non-waivers trade deadline, and then there's the other trade deadline. It's sort of that second market that comes up that only the contenders really are part of that market, and they start loading up their roster.
Yeah, but even baseball got rid of that last year. So now moving forward, that's not an option for teams.
So should the NBA kind of put a stop to this, or does it not matter?
They should probably be moving in that direction because it does feel like.
How do you put a stop to it, though?
It feels like it throws off the competitive balance, doesn't it? Because it's not the same opportunity for everybody, even though technically it is. It really isn't.
I mean, but everybody
you're
had
not
a
talking
chance.
about those guys that get bought out going to teams that aren't very good. You're talking about them going to contenders.
If you're not allowing teams to buy players out, then they're strapped. You're strapped cap-wise. So, I mean, that's the only option realistically,
You're
right?
moving
Alan?
on from a player you don't want. Like, here's a great for instance. Oklahoma City Thunder, they know where they are right now in the standings. They want to play their young players. They have Al Horford, who has 2 years and $54 million left on his deal. They could have easily said, we'll buy you out. We're going to let you go play somewhere else. But it's 2 years, $54 million. That's a lot to buy out.
Yep.
So they're just going to sit him. He's just not going to play. And he's fine with it. Well, I'll stay healthy. I'll keep some miles on the tread, right? And next year I'll play a little bit and then hope I get that. Then maybe somebody will move on, or maybe they can trade as you will be an expiring contract.
We're really talking about two teams, if they're healthy, being in the NBA Finals, that being the Lakers and the Nets.
But see, I don't know about that. See, because everybody's going to jump on this bandwagon and say, oh, the deck is stacked. We haven't seen this team play together. Like, chemistry does say something about winning a championship.
Yeah.
Sure, but LeBron and AD, if they're healthy, they were going to the NBA Finals.
I'm with you on
anyway.
LeBron and AD. I'm talking about the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the fact that KD hasn't played in a month plus. Yeah, he's supposed to be coming back.
He's on bubble. He's in bubble wrap. You know.
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
He's
Okay,
in bubble wrap.
so how about this? Imagine the opposite side of this equation. What if the Nets don't get to the World Championship?
Huge disappointment. If they don't get to
Massive.
if they don't get to the NBA Finals,
of pressure.
huge
Massive.
disappointment.
But that's
huge.
See again, and that also brings the other point, which you brought up, is KD on these super teams. Nobody roots for Goliath. Nobody cheers for Goliath. Only the fan base does. But it starts to become who can pull off the upset. Who can take them out, and that makes you the target. And the only question you have about this group is, do they have the fortitude to be the hated and the hunted when it comes to playoff time? Are they built that way?
Seems like it.
Because that group, I don't know. That
well,
group is easy like Sunday morning.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that
But when
one.
it gets tough
I
and
know
people get in your face and you got fans calling you out and you got media pressure on you, like if a series is 1-1 in the first round, it's like, oh, Brooklyn, oh, look out. Brooklyn might get upset. Like, I don't know if that group is built mentally to handle that, and that's what we're going to learn about them.
See, I
is can
disagree
they
with
do
you.
it? The talent-wise, yes.
I
But
think
the rest of it,
all these
questionable.
guys feel as if they have been castrated. Kevin Durant felt like, well, I mean, from their team, right? I mean, Kevin Durant felt like Golden State, nobody wanted to say it was his team, even though he was two-time Finals MVP. It's always Steph's team.
Yeah.
James Harden, with the way he got himself out of Houston, people hated on him. Well, you can't win. They were up 3-1. He's not a winner. Kyrie Irving is just going through Kyrie Irving type stuff. That's always been the case for Kyrie Irving. So I think this is what actually bands them together like the bad boys. That's why I said they're the new age bad boys. And I will say this, mark this down. If LeBron James is able to beat Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Blake Griffin, LaMarcus Aldridge in the NBA Finals, I want to hear all this talk and chatter about him not being the greatest player of all time. Stop. I don't see Jordan running through that. Did Jordan run through that? Did Jordan run through KD, Kyrie, and James Harden on the same team? You give me the best team Jordan had ran through to win through a championship. And let's compare that team to the Brooklyn Nets.
So you're saying if they were able to pull off this upset, if these two teams meet in the NBA Finals, both teams healthy, that LeBron James eclipses Michael Jordan as the greatest
I
of all time.
already think that LeBron James has eclipsed Michael Jordan as the greatest individual player to ever play the game. I don't always just put that on winning championships. I know some of you guys may disagree, but I think if he's able to do this, I think that, once again,